are again, folks. I'm back with another furniture flip. This time it's a Hexagon table. These are very outdated. You can find a lot of them for quite cheap on Facebook Marketplace or at your secondhand shop. I see them all over the place, and they're very, very inexpensive and readily available. So my plan is I've seen some makeovers of these tables on Pinterest that they have made over into a cat bed or a dog bed or like a little home, a little resting area for your pets. And that is my plan with this one. During refinishing of this one, I happened to come across another one that was a little bit smaller that I also wanted to try. So one of these is going to be a donation for a local cat rescue, and the other one I will likely sell on Facebook Marketplace. I have 5 cats. I don't have room to keep one of these in my house, and they already have lots of other beds and cat trees and all kinds of things that they can go into, so I won't be keeping this one. My boys were a little bit upset with me because I didn't want to keep it, but we don't need it at all. So I'm making this one over. And so the first steps here that I'm doing, I took all the hardware off. I took the 2 doors off of the front. I'm just cleaning it up with some Simple Green, which is an awesome cleaner. It's not a TSP, but this one does, on certain pieces of furniture, will take off some of the finish like it did on this one. So I know that this one was really old and really dry. The wood is really dry. It's been sitting in a basement for a long, long time, and it was covered in cobwebs and stuff. So I think being really dry, that a lot of the finish has worn off, so the Simple Green took off some of the stain, which is fine. So I'm just cleaning it up now. As you can see, one of my cats, Rue, she has decided to join me for a little while in there. Haha, she's so cute. Anyway, so this is a solid wood. I believe it's oak. Solid oak. And here's the disgusting water after cleaning it. It's pretty nasty. I got out my scraper to see if I could scrape off some of the finish, and it worked really well. I'm just doing one of the doors. The other door that was on this was not in the greatest shape, and it had like a big scratch on the top, and the hinges were a little bit bent on it. So being a cat bed, I didn't really want 2 doors on it anyways, because I don't really feel like we should close doors on animals, and then you can't see them. Like a dog cage, yeah, I can see because there's like air and you can see them. Whereas a piece of furniture like this, I didn't really want there to be an option to essentially lock an animal into a cupboard. So I left one of the doors. I wanted to leave one of the doors off anyways. So that worked out. This one was in excellent condition, so I'm just gonna have 1 door on it, and then it'll just be an open area for the cat or dog to walk in, and you won't be able to close the door and lock them in. So after scraping the door, I will sand it down. Every once in a while you'll see a cat sneak by in my videos, like Nuka here. Nuka is one of my buddies. He likes to hang out with me while I'm working. So after sanding, there's like this molding piece that's on top of the door that I'm going to take off here in a minute. I didn't like it, I didn't want it, so I just ripped it off. hammered the nails out, and it was good to go. So I'm just going to sand it some more and it will be ready to stain. Now the base on this table I did not like. It sat right on the floor and I thought it was not up to date enough. So I just took some screws out and it was a little bit tricky. Some of the screws were rusted and stripped. Yeah, that was another thing. Actually, it looked like it was sat in water for some time and it was kind of moldy and gross. So it definitely needed to go. There was no way I was gonna salvage this and keep it on. So I have another plan for the bottom. I'm going to make some little feet. So I just had to take out the screws, which was tricky, but I got them. I had to pry some of them off and use my drill on an angle kind of to hold it in the head of the screw. It was difficult, but it worked. Sometimes taking things apart is more fun than putting them back together. Dismantling or demolishing is kind of fun. Here's a little sneak peek of the second table that I picked up. I was going to include that in this same video, but doing two at the same time proved to be more of a challenge than I thought it would be. So for this video, I'm just sticking with the first one that I started. Scraping the finish proved to be more effective than sanding the finish off of this table. So I went with that, and it was also quite satisfying. I was careful not to scratch the wood underneath. Since this wood was really dry, there was a good chance that I could have scratched it. I may have maybe done some slight damage in an area or two, but I was being as careful as I could. I got out my new shop vac and vacuumed up all of the dust that the scraping made. My old shop vac died on me, so I had to run out and buy a new one. Now I'm sanding with 220 grit sandpaper. I just want to get any residual finish off and sand it smooth so that it'll be ready for stain. I had an amazing customer bring me this awesome cake, some wine, and a whole bunch of other goodies. I felt so spoiled for the first time in a very long time. So thank you very much. You know who you are. I can finally get started priming. I felt like I had to be a contortionist to get inside to paint the whole inside. I didn't want to leave the inside wood. I felt like it just needed to be lightened up, and since one of the front doors would be off like permanently, and you can see inside, so I wanted that to be painted a nice color as well. I was getting a little bit of bleed through the primer, so I ended up doing I believe 2 more coats on the inside, so 3 coats altogether on the inside. The outside it wasn't so bad. I believe I did 2 coats of primer on the outside. Also the color that I used was like it concealed any kind of, if there was any bleed through, you wouldn't be able to see it anyways. I'm using my least favorite brush, a colormatic brush or something it's called. I can link that down below if you want. I'm not even going to link it because it's not my favorite. I don't know if I just got, it's my first time trying it. Well, actually, I've used it with another project, but I haven't used it before, and maybe I just got like a lemon, but the bristles keep falling out like continually, so it's not near as thick as it used to be. They fall out in clumps, so that's why I'm just using it for my primer. But I probably will never get one again. Okay, moving on to staining. I'm just using a small piece of t-shirt material that I've folded into a little square. It works well for applying the stain. I am using Varathane. No, what am I using? General Finishes I'm using in Nutmeg. I did go over it after a few days. I wasn't completely satisfied with the color, so I went over it all with Varathane Dark Walnut, which does have a finishing agent in it as well as the stain. So I don't really need to put a top coat on it. And I still haven't decided if I'm going to do a top coat. I don't think so. I don't really think that it needs it, so I keep going back and forth on that decision, but I guess you'll see in the end what I decided to do. I'm just using a little toothpick or Q-tip. I can't remember what I used, but I'm just trying to poke some of the stain into the corners because it was a little bit difficult to get it right into the corners. I also added extra stain in the middle where I took the molding off just to help it be more of a I'm sorry if oh my goodness, I am moving the camera all over the place. I'm sorry about that. Oh, look at how fast I'm sanding. Wow, if only I could sand that fast in real life. Oh, that would make my life so much easier. Anyway. I got some of the primer on the top of the table, so I'm just sanding that off so that I can stain the top. I always make sure that I wipe it all down with a microfiber cloth as well after to get rid of all of the dust, so the dust doesn't get all stuck in your stain or in your paint. Moving on to staining. Again, I'm using the General Finishes Nutmeg. This is my absolute favorite stain. It's the only gel stain I've used from General Finishes, but I just love the color. So I definitely need to get myself another can of this. It's nearing the end of the can, but it's my favorite color. I just love it. I did go over this, like the door, I went over it again with the Varathane Dark Walnut. I'm just using a small artist brush to go over the trim part at the top, just so that I don't get, if I use a bigger brush, I'm more likely to get paint on my beautiful stain. And then I couldn't decide what color I was going to paint it, so I tried out a few around the trim to have it next to the wood grain so that I can see which one looked good. I ended up going with a green called Bayberry from Fusion Mineral Paint. I love Fusion paint. It's one of my favorites. And this color I'm putting on the inside. Again, I was contorting my body into ways that I did not know I could to get inside and paint the top and all the sides and the bottom. I painted all the trim in Dixie Belle's colored greens. It's just a really dark green, and I did not like at all how it went with the Bayberry color. I thought it needed more contrast, so I ended up repainting all of the trim with House and Canvas in the color Shadow, which is just a really dark black. And I think it adds a lot more contrast and interest. Anyway, I like it a lot better. I painted the rest of the outside in the same color as the inside, the Bayberry Fusion Mineral Paint. I'm using my Country Chic oval brush. Now it looked really plain to me, so I decided to jazz it up a bit with a stencil. I'm not usually into doing stenciling, especially on furniture, but I feel like there's kind of like a trend going towards some stenciling on furniture, so I thought, why not? It's fun, I'm learning, and we'll see how it goes. So I decided to, I picked out this stencil anyways, and I'm just doing some dry brushing with some of the colored greens, the Dixie Belle colored greens, the dark green that I didn't like around the edge. And also I used some of the shadow color, so the black. Just to add a little depth and dimension to the stencil. I didn't want like just a sharp stencil with sharp lines and all that stuff. I tried to make it a little more like aged and kind of worn in areas looking. And I also placed the stencil on just randomly. So for stenciling, I'm just using one of my mermaid makeup brushes. I'm just dabbing a little bit of paint on my brush, and then I'm wiping a lot of the excess off onto a cloth so that I can just get just a tiny bit of paint. You don't want to use too much, otherwise it'll get kind of globby, and there's more chance of it to go underneath the stencil, especially since I'm not sticking the stencil down, I'm just holding it with my hand. And there, see, doesn't that look nice? I like it. So that's all I did, all the way around the outside, just random areas and partial parts of the stencil, alternating between the black paint and the dark green paint and kind of blending them into each other as I went. For the transition line between the trim and the side panels, I masked off around the edges, but I left about 1/8 of an inch so that the black from the trim would be up on the sides just about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. I don't know why I did that. I just felt like it would be easier than trying to make it exact between the side panels and the trim. So if I went up 1/8 of an inch, in my head it made it easier to just paint around the trim. I don't know if that makes sense. And now I see Nuka sneaking in underneath again. He's always around that one. So this table's for cats, so I think they like it. Cats like this table already, which is a good thing. If you like this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing, and hit the notification bell too, so that you can be notified of the next time I upload a video. You know, when I'm painting and stuff, I don't really notice the cats. I mean, I'm so used to having them around. And then when I go back and I am like editing the videos and stuff, I see these things happen. So that's another cat that I have. That one actually is my daughter's cat. That's Fiji. Now for the feet, what I did was cut up banister spindles that were generously donated by one of my customers, the same customer who gave me all the cool stuff. She's an amazing lady. So I just cut out a portion of the banisters, and then I sanded them all, and then I painted them. My oldest son, who is 9, he likes to come and help me from time to time, so he helped me paint all the feet black. Again, I used the House and Canvas furniture paint in Shadow. Then I had to run to Home Depot to find some kind of brackets I could use to attach these feet to the bottom of the table. They didn't really have exactly what I had in mind, but I found these L brackets that actually did the trick. So what I did was I just drilled pilot holes in the bottom of the feet, and then I used small, I think 3/4 inch small screws, and screwed the bracket onto the feet, and then I used longer screws. No, actually I didn't. I used longer screws and they kind of started poking through the other side, so I had to switch to the 3/4. So I used 3/4 inch screws to also attach it to the bottom of the table. And then I have these little plastic feet that are like oversized tacks that you just hammer into the bottom, and then the feet don't scratch your floors, and they work great. After I did 2 coats of a clear coat, I moved on to cleaning the hardware for the door. I usually clean the hardware the same way every time. I boil it in vinegar water, and I think this time I left it overnight. I don't always leave it overnight, but I think I did this time, and it takes off a lot of the gross, disgusting buildup that can be on hardware over the years. It also had some of the previous stain on it, which also came off. You can see all the grossness. I'm dumping that all away. Then what I do is I take my barkeeper's friend. I have the powder and I use a toothbrush and I scrub it really well with that, and that gets off everything else that was on the hardware, and then it'll be ready to put on the gilding wax, and I'm using gold gilding wax for this. Gilding wax is a great way to update your hardware. It's also very hard wearing, like it lasts a long time. It's just a simple little process, and it makes a big impact on the look of your furniture. It gives it a more even color. Yeah, I love it. I love gilding wax. It's like one of my most favorite products to use on furniture. I'm using a mermaid makeup brush again, just to apply. You just want to like brush it on. Usually I will wait 24 hours after brushing it on to let it dry really good, and then I will just buff it with a microfiber cloth. That just helps it get rid of any texture that may have been left on there, and because it's a wax, it buffs it and makes it a little bit shiny and smooth. If your hardware is really smooth to begin with, you might want to rough it up with high grit sandpaper, like 400 grit sandpaper. Just sand it down a little bit just to give something for the wax to stick to. Then I got out my artist's brush and did a bunch of touch-ups. I wasn't super careful when I was going around the edges and stuff, because I knew with having that tiny little edge at the top, I needed to use a very small brush to make sure that the paint goes right up the edge of it and make it look even and nice. So I just kind of used my bigger brush on the top and then going over it after with the tiny little brush. It was a little tedious, but definitely necessary to make it look more professional, I guess. Not that I'm a professional, I'm just winging it. So, and then I used my little bit bigger brush to add the top coat all the way around the bottom. It was just easier to get into the smaller spaces with the smaller brush. I did not end up doing a top coat on the wood areas. It didn't need it. I'm just tightening some of the screws that were holding the base on. They seemed a little bit loose, so I just went around and tightened them all up and made sure all my feet were tight. Now I'm just adding the hardware and going to get the door put on. I also went to PetSmart and picked up a really cute fluffy bed to put inside this cat bed, or cat house, whatever you want to call it. So hopefully I found the right one. You'll see in the pictures that are coming up. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's subscribed, and new subscribers. There's been quite a few since the Ugly Duckling Challenge. And I'm loving all the feedback from everybody too. Thank you so much. My mom bought me Dickies for my birthday, so stay tuned for future videos. I will likely be wearing my jumpsuit that is now my new painting outfit. Thanks, Mom. And here's the finished cat house, cat bed, table. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'm trying my best, and I feel like I'm getting a little better each time that I do a video. So I just want to say thank you again to all the new subscribers. I'm blown away by the response I got from my Ugly Duckling Challenge. That it's been amazing, and I love all the comments, and you guys have been super encouraging, and I really appreciate you. Thanks for watching.